Okay, birds don't ride bikes. So we start by introducing this character, a little blue bird. She's kind of standing upset in the doorway, saying, "You did it, I know you did it." She's obviously a little angry, and she's directing all her attention towards this character, the blackbird, who's just like, ugh, kind of tired and out of it. It's a little frustrated, kind of arrogant. Is like, "No, I did not do it." And then she's like, "Well, kind of sniffling, "Well, then who did it?" And he's like, "Well, she's like, sort of toying with, who did it versus who didn't do it. He can't really say anything because it's kind of a ridiculous, argument. You either did or you didn't do it. But she gets mad. She comes to the conclusion that he did do it. She's upset. She's like, "You did it, you did it. I know you didn't." And she's upset and she leaves, closes the door on him. And, we begin our story with this conflict. So then we introduce the detective pigeon. He's kind of silly little fun character. It's like, "What am I gonna solve today?" So he's at his desk, and then, magically he gets his little case. And the case is sort of just gibberish, but he takes it anyway. So he looks through it. He's like, oh, these are interesting things. What am I gonna do here?" And so he takes to the streets looking for stuff, looks for clues, sort of gets wrapped up in this pointless argument while the world sort of passes him by. And then he eventually scopes out, his first target, knocks on a door, and he begins to interrogate our bluebird from the beginning of the story. She's like, "Oh, what? What's going on? Here, let me tell you what I know." And so it sort of fades to the door. So now we have our blackbird again. He's knocking on the door. She's in the kitchen, doing her own thing, chopping onions. So she's a little, worried. And so now he's, pecking on the door. His peck is, it's, synchronized with the sounds of her chopping the onions, chop, 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 chop. It's the same as him, beating into the door. And, the onion just sort of represents her paranoia of, this crazy character. And so he's at her door, pulls out his beak that's stuck in the door, and he's like, "What am I doing here? This is, kind of messed up." But then he goes crazy, and he's like, "Ah!" And he busts in the door, and he confronts her, all crazy and she's like, "Oh no." And so he's chasing her throughout the house, and, she's trying to fight him off, and he's like, "Ah, let me in." She's like, "No, I'm not gonna let you in." And he's like, "Yeah, let me in." He eventually overpowers her and gets in. And so then he's chasing her around this little room, the bedroom. She's like, "Oh no, why did this happen to me?" She turns the corner. He does quickly after, and, smacks her onto the bed. There she is, kind of helpless, but she puts up her fist to fight. And so, then she attacks, and you find out she's actually, a vicious bird as well. And they're both, eating each other. And they, get to the end of their just feathers, and they're fighting, and they're left with just their bird masks, which they remove from each other. And they're like, "Oh, are actually just people, not, whatever